welcome to another session. In this session, we'll be examining the topic Understanding HTML. I'll show you it's going to be interesting. So let's begin. HTML is the language of the internet. Millions of web pages created today are all done using the language HTML. In this session, we'll be looking at an introduction to HTML. So here's a brief outline of what we'll be considering. First, we'll look at the definition of HTML, after which we'll look at the different HTML tags that we have available today. Then we'll look at the versions of HTML, also HTML comments, and lastly, we'll look at different HTML tags. So let's dive right in. But before we start, you will need two important things. First, you need to have a web browser. Most systems, of course, have web browsers, so you need one. Mozilla, Firefox, Internet Explorer, whichever one is you prefer, you need to have that ready. Then, as we discussed the last time, you need an HTML code editor. Visit the last video we did, and then you will know about the different possible editors you can use. But we encourage not to use Notepad. The ordinary Notepad can be very difficult to use, and sometimes it adds text extension to your code, which you may not want. Here are some quick resources you may also like to use. You have the TZAG site, www.tzag.com. There you get great tutorials, and also W3 Schools. You have good information on how to progress in your journey of learning HTML. Now let's look at what is HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Note that word again, Hypertext Markup Language. It started around 1991 and it has gone through several iterations. Today in 2021, we are using the current edition of HTML, which is HTML5. Okay, so there are older versions, but today we use HTML5. Now remember, HTML is Hypertext Markup Language. What is a markup language? Markup language is simply a set of tags called markup tags used to describe a document. Now, if you look at the example on my right hand, you have this simple word, my heading. But before the my heading, you have H1 in brackets. So this H1 is an HTML tag. And this is the opening tag. Then at the end of your text, you have another tag, still called H1, but with a slash. This is the closing tag. So a markup language is a set of markup tags used to describe a document. So you can see in this particular example, there are several tags, markup tags, describing this document. So it helps the web browser to interpret what you are trying to say, whether you want the text to be big or to be small or to have a format or another. That is what HTML tags are used for. They are used to describe the document so that it can be properly rendered by the web browser. Now, documents contain plain text and HTML tags. So this is a plain text, a paragraph. This is a plain text, but you also have HTML tags in the document. So typically, documents have both plain text and HTML tags. So let's talk a little bit more about these HTML tags that we have. As I explained earlier, HTML tags are keywords or tag names surrounded by angle brackets. So these are the angle brackets that we can see here. So HTML tags are any words that you see, a word or group of words you see surrounded by angle brackets. Now let's look at the text between HTML here. That's the opening tag of HTML, and the closing tag of HTML describes the whole web page. Meaning that when you want to start designing or writing out a web page, you need an HTML tag on top. You need an HTML closing tag as well. So the text in between these describe what the web page is going to do. We are going to explain the doc type declaration shortly. Now, you can see that there is a body tag here. So this is the opening body tag, and you also have the closing body tag. The text between the opening and closing body tag is the visible page content. So what you see in between the body tags are the visible page content, what everyone will see. So things before it or after it may not be seen. So the body tag tells you this is the body of my document. Now you can see here H1, which has an opening tag. H means header, that's the first level header, H1, and then it has a closing tag at the end. So the text between H1, the opening H1 tag, and the closing H1 tag is an heading. Okay. There are some keywords to note. For instance, an element. You may hear of the word HTML element. Okay, an element is a complete tag. That means it has the opening tag and the closing tag. So that means a complete element, an HTML element. Then there's also this important word attribute. So you might have an HTML tag. You may want to further modify the value of the tag or give it some property. So this is the attribute of the tag. And an element can have multiple tags. Take for instance, this anchor tag or A tag is an HTML element. It has an attribute, an href or HTML reference attribute, as we can see here. So this is the attribute name, this is the attribute value. So oftentimes in HTML, you see a tag having one or more attributes. Okay, very, very common in describing the different documents that we work on. Let's move on to web browsers. Just a quick reminder again, HTML is a set of tags that displays content in a browser. So the browser reads those tags and knows what to do with them and displays the content for users to see. This is a practical course and we're going to see that shortly. There are several types of browser, okay? Several types of browsers. For instance, you have Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Conqueror, Opera, Safari, and oftentimes it depends on the operating system you are using, whether it's Mac or Windows. So however, there are very many cross-platform browsers. So for this course, we'll be using Chrome, and you can also use Firefox. These are well-standard compliant browsers. Internet Explorer is very good, but sometimes it's known not to have effective display of some content, but it gets better every day. Now let's talk about the doc type declaration. I mentioned HTML has gone through different versions right from when it started in the 90s. Okay, so you have HTML5, HTML 4.01, there was even the XHTML, but we're now in HTML5. So usually on top of your HTML document, you tell the browser what version of HTML you are using. So that is the doc type declaration. So if you are using HTML5 or you want the browser to understand that all the codes you have in that document they are HTML5 codes, so you tell the browser by using this doc type declaration HTML. Okay. If you are using an earlier version, say for instance HTML 4.0, this is the doc type declaration you usually paste into the front, the top of your document. And if it's XHTML, this is the doc type declaration. So the doc type declaration helps determine presentation, the way the browser will understand the codes that you've written and then present it to the user. So now let's see how this is done in practice. So I'm going to go to my code editor, type this code and view it to see how it looks like. So I'm in my code editor and I'm using Visual Studio. So I have here a very fresh file. I just want to type in the HTML codes that I've shown in the example just before now. So the first thing to do is to first save your document as an HTML document. So this helps the Visual Code Editor to guide you to know what type of code you are working with. So I'm going to name my file. So I go to File and I say Save As. So I want to save my file and I'll just call it index file. So index.html. So how do I give it that .html extension? It's simply by going to the Save As type, and here you will see several different languages that you can use, but I'm interested in HTML. So I simply select HTML. Okay, so my file is going to be index.html. This step is very important because it helps my code editor to guide me as I create my codes. So here I am again. So it's saved as an HTML document. So the next thing I will do is to impute the doc type declaration. I just go to my angle bracket and I type exclamation mark. Already you see the code editor is helping me. So I don't have to type all the code, so I just select. Already my doc type declaration is set. This is the advantage of using a code editor. It simplifies your creating codes. It reminds you and it gives you some help that you will need. Now after the doc type declaration, I go to line 2. Here I am going to just put the HTML. Remember, the HTML describes the web page. Okay, so I'll just begin to type HTML or simply select as I'm being advised here. Okay, the code editor has completed the whole code for me, which makes life easy. So there's the opening tag and the closing tag. So I just take the closing tag down and I can continue writing the code. So another thing you see that the code editor does is it gives you some indentation. Okay, indentation helps you to be able to read the code and write it in a neater form. So after the HTML, the next tag I would like to write is the body tag. So I simply put the angular bracket again and write body. Okay, so I have already body tag showing. Okay, let me just close this, and then the code editor puts both the opening tag and the closing body tag for me. So I'm ready. So the next thing I would like to write is my heading. I want just to write heading 1, so I'll put in H1, close the tag, and just type in my heading. So this means this is my text now. All the codes I've written here, this is the first text I'm writing. The others are all HTML tags. So my heading, it's written. And then the next thing I will write is a paragraph. So to write a paragraph, you use the P tag. Just type your angular bracket, and P, close it. And then my code editor has put the closing tag, and I can put my text here, a paragraph. So that is all, and I can keep writing several things here. And I'm done with this simple code. So I've written I have a file, index file, and I've written my heading and a paragraph. So the next thing is you save, and then you view it on your web browser. Remember, when you write codes in HTML, the purpose is for the web browser to interpret the code and display it to the user. So here I am in the folder where it is saved. So you can see here, this is the file, index file. So simply by clicking on it, the browser displays what I have written. Okay, so here is the display, and you can see none of the tags is showing up. It's just showing my heading, which is what I surrounded with the H1 tag. So it gave me a big heading, and then this is the paragraph that I wrote, just the simple words, a paragraph. So this is the code that produced this document. So this is what HTML is all about: writing codes and then displaying it on the browser. So in most web pages you see all across the world, this is the way they are written. So here's a small exercise for you to do. So create an HTML file, call it what you like, or in this case, call it index.html. Set the doc type declaration, set up the HTML tag, set up the body tag, add the heading that says my first heading, just as I've done, and add a paragraph with the words of your choice. Then view it on the web browser. So I'll look forward to you showing me what you have done. So a quick information about white spaces and comments. Right, white space can make your code more legible. I explained that earlier on. Usually, when the browser is interpreting the codes you have written, it doesn't need any white space. You can jam them all together. You can separate them with spaces as much as you want. The browser cannot tell the difference. But we as humans, the white spaces helps us to understand the code better. We're able to see where a tag starts and where it stops. We go to a new line and understand it better. Another important concept is comments. Now, comments are important because they help us to understand the code. So when you are writing your code, endeavor to use comments. Comments help you later on to understand the code when you come back to it. Okay, so and how do you write a comment in HTML? Again, you use the angular bracket, you use the exclamation mark and dash dash to begin the comment, and when you are closing it, you just put dash dash and then the bracket again. So this is how you comment on an HTML tag. I'm going to show this quickly. So to comment out in an HTML, insert information between these tags. Now the browsers won't show whatever you write between the tags. Okay. Commenting in HTML allows developers to leave notes about their codes, its functionality, or to indicate necessary changes for the future. So I'm back here in the code. If you want to add a comment anywhere here, you can just click, say for instance, click on enter, and then write your angular bracket, put the exclamation mark, then just put dash dash. All right, and then the closing tag is already there. So this is a comment. Okay. Another thing you can see is that my browser is helping me with what is called syntax highlighting. Okay. The tags are in a somewhat brownish color. The comments are in green colors. Then you see red appearing in different places too. So this helps me to differentiate the different parts of my code. So my comment is appearing in green, syntax highlighting. That's what it's called. This is a comment, and if I go to my browser, though I've written this comment here, my browser will not display it. Let's take a look. So this is my browser where I'll just need to refresh this, and the comment doesn't show. So comment is for you when you come back to this code in the future to understand what you are doing here, and it helps you to remember and interpret the codes better. Now here we have a list of different tags. So this is the beginning tag, this is the ending tag. So you have the anchor tag that describes an address. You have the body tag. You have the BR tag, which is the line break. You have the head tag, which defines the head of a document. We'll be using this head tag in subsequent videos. Okay, so you have the HN tag, you have the HTML, I've talked about this. We have the image tag, which defines an image. You have the list tag, so sometimes you want to list items, and you may even want to put number 1, number 2, number 3 in a list. So the ordered list tag helps us to do that. You have the title tag that gives the document a title. So there are many tags, and we'll be learning all these different tags in this course. And I encourage you to explore the tags in the course material and also in the different websites that I've indicated earlier on. You'll see how those tags work. You can just copy them in the document, the code you are writing in your code editor, and see and view them. Now there are some categories of tags called presentation tags. So this helps you to present how your text will look like. For instance, if you want to bold a part of your document, you use the B tag. Okay, so it displays bold text. The I, italics, big text, on and on and on. The same thing with subscript, superscript, strike through, underline. So there are different HTML presentation tags that help you to achieve those presentations on your browser. So here's a quick exercise for you to work on. The first is add a comment tag stating that this is the body area. So usually this will come at the top, very close to the body tag. Then add an hyperlink to the noun website, www.nou.edu.ng. When you click on it on the browser, it should take you to the noun website. Then visit the Wikipedia page shown here on technology. Copy 2 paragraphs from that page and paste it in your code editor. Also add the image on the right side of the page to your site. I'll explain what I mean. So you add the image on the right side of your page using the image tag on your code. So this is the Wikipedia page. Just copy 2 paragraphs, paste it in your code, and then this image, add it also in your code and display it on the browser. So we have looked briefly at what HTML is and how tags can be used in our codes for presentation. Thank you for listening.